Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mentoring Diaries. I am Tuba. We often hear phrases like high growth, untapped potential, fast expansion. But if you look a little closer, scaling in this market is not about just moving fast. It's about understanding people, building trust, navigating uncertainty, and thinking long term. And what I've seen through mentoring is that many founders don't struggle because of lack of ambition. They struggle because the context they are operating in requires a very different way of thinking. That's where mentoring becomes incredibly valuable. Not by giving founders a playbook, but by helping them slow down, observe, and make more grounded decisions. And I'm really glad Lama Masri is joining me for this conversation. Lama, it's wonderful to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your mentoring journey.
Thank you, Tuba, for having me. So I'm Lama Masri. I'm a five-time founder. I'm a full stack web developer, and my superpower is building products. So currently, I am the founding CEO at NatureMe. It is the world's first AI agent for nature, and our mission is to basically take people to reconnect and belong in nature again. And yeah, it's very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And if you got anybody would love to connect on anything build up, you please more than happy, but if you could share my LinkedIn, I'm always happy to connect with people. And yeah, I'm ready for your first question. We could start whenever you're ready.
That's great, Lama. I love your interest on that side. So Lama, emerging markets are often described as high growth but also high risk. But I feel there's often a gap between perception and reality. So from your perspective, what do founders usually misunderstand about scaling in these markets?
I think the misconception is that your product is going to work everywhere. And the reality is different economic backgrounds, different political backgrounds, different purchasing power of a community. Your product cannot be served for everybody, let alone the marketing campaign cannot be pursued in the same language. Some people, would react more to positive, and some people more negative, some people more near humor. So truly every single market is quite unique, and understanding how local players work internally in terms of pricing models, it needs to be fully accounted. So we cannot, I think one of the business concessions, especially in the Middle East, is that people say, Middle East, it's one market, I'll do one price. And it's like, Middle East is so diverse in terms of the purchasing power, in terms of even being able to collect the money. Certain countries have economic, let's say, backlogs where you cannot even take the money outside of the country. So there's a lot of legal kind of constraints, financial constraints that you have to be wary about. So yeah, it's I really believe in like seeing local players already doing it. If it's something that you're completely doing that has not been invented before, maybe look at people that are maybe tapping a little bit of what you've done, and understanding how they go, and sometimes hiring in the experts from other competitors, right? Bringing them to you. So for a shorter sales cycle. So it just really depends on your grit and understanding the product, the market. Yeah, there's a lot of research that needs to be done. So it's not a walk in the park.
Now, I've seen founders when they enter new market that work elsewhere, they think that it's going to happen the same way. So I think it's very important to have the judgment about the market, and not only that, it's also important to understand the context, behavior, and trust building over time. So it seems to me that trust plays a very bigger role in this environment, that many founder even expect. So how can mentors help founders build trust at scale?
There's a lot. Trust is a big word because, first, if I want to use your product, or let's say it is a tech product, it's not a service, and if I want to trust it, I want the product to work. So first off, you need to get your technical capabilities working properly. And to be able to do that, obviously, when the user is opening, let's say your app, and the UX UI, the user journey is going through it, and then it crashes, you've lost the customer. So really, you can do your beta testing, you can do your A/B testing at a certain point, but when it comes to your product is live in certain markets, the attention span of the user is going to be very short about how much they're going to be okay with a bug. They're going to be okay with then pushing a negative review. They'll do it once, they'll do it twice, but then you've lost them. So I think first your product needs to be working, and that is the trust you need to enable before you go to market. But I think beyond that, then we're living in an age where who you work for and what you stand by is really important, and people are much more lenient on whether you are working for political, let's say countries that you don't back anymore. So people have been leaving a lot of brands if they back certain, let's say, political parties or certain countries. So I think there's more of an ethical consumer now globally, and people are becoming selective. So there's a lot of local competitors that are emerging, and there's like a whole movement of people wanting to buy local. So it's a great trend to kind of ride on and like react to. So whatever global competitor is now getting backlash, if you replicate it and localize it, you're going to be doing really well already because of that sentiment.
How do you see a mentor helping them, to build that trust? I mean, what role do you think a mentor is placing over there?
I think, again, a mentor comes with making sure that, technically you're doing well. And at the same time, I mean, trust in the market is you have different stages. You have when you're building your product versus when the product is live versus when you're scaling in different markets. So it really is, what are we trusting? Do we want the user to trust me before my product is live, when my product is live, or when I'm scaling? There's trust internally with your team. Do people take you seriously as a leader, and they trust you? Or do your clients trust you? Again, I think entering and closing that sales cycle with the clients, it really depends how you're selling yourself, how you're selling the product. So as a mentor, you can guide them on, all right, if you're entering a B2B client, let's say these are the metrics you need to follow. This is maybe the sales script you need to follow. This is how long for your industry your sales cycle should be. It should not take more than 3 months, or you should better it and make it up to a month, or you set in different KPIs. But yeah, and I truly believe, I mean, from my experience, we live in a world where beyond digital marketing and acquiring clients, I think personal relationships are still there, even with the age of AI, because a lot of the large contracts are still built on personal relationships and tenders. And it's not just like an AI agent that can come and get you a few cold leads and you have your entire calendar filled in and you're doing demos, but it still is personal relationship. So how you present yourself, being confident, knowing your product, knowing your USP, your unique selling position, you would be great. You'd do well.
Lama, you mentioned about localization and globalization part. So basically, I want to see that normally a lot of founders have this tension about how to balance between localization with global ambition, and they want to scale, but they also need to know how to adapt to it. So how should founders navigate that balance, and where do mentors step in?
So I think when it comes to localization versus global, my biggest recommendation is win first, be the local hero as you start. And beyond being a local hero, you have to think of, instead of saying I want to shoot for the stars and I want to win around the globe, let's start small. So a mentor's job is to kind of set expectations, be clear, right? I'm like, all right, if you win in a certain market, let's now expand in the nearby market. So another neighboring country that is probably similar purchasing power, probably setting benchmark. So the mentor can kind of guide them, let's say price points, what would work, what doesn't, can basically maybe highlight different partnerships that they can agree with so that they can work with kind of a growth scale. So yeah, I think the mentor can come in to kind of really set expectations for them to win. You have so many different types of mentors, right? You have mentors that come in with a technical background. Some of them are coming strategy background. Some of them are coming in maybe UX UI background, sales background. So it really is which network which mentor you're tapping into, and then you get to utilize them depending on whatever journey you're on so that you can benefit. So it's important to speak to a mentor and to really get the tools you need. But it's also important to know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay.
I think that balance is very important between both of them.
Yeah, but it's also, if you don't know something, you don't be afraid to ask, but also don't be afraid to fail, because through failing you're learning. And back then we used to not applaud failing, but now in the current market we applaud it. I've exited 2 companies, but I failed 2 companies. It's not something I look back on and like, oh my God, this was such a bad moment. I was like, no, I'm glad I failed, because like one of the fail, it was the economic crisis that was happening, and the purchasing power of my product was no longer affording to place this service. So I was like, it's honestly out of my hands as well. But also I tried to pivot, and then it was just not working. It did not make economical sense. So I closed the company. So again, it's about understanding how fast you react to, let's say, a certain price point and a certain market change, but also not feeling so down about yourself when you do these mistakes. Like, no, it's okay. I learned.
I also see failure as a very, a particular platform for learning, because you know what you're not supposed to do next. in your next business that you start with. So I think it's a very good learning opportunity for anyone when you fail in a particular, startup or anything. Because this time, the next time when you go, you're much more wiser as a person.
It's true, and it's it shows grit as well. You become someone who's realistic, that can understand what a runway means, right? What how much cash flow you do need to survive, operationally, how teams can affect your performance, how clients can affect, how even if your clients are closing, sometimes you're not getting paid in time. And sometimes collecting payments is taking maybe 6 months, 8 months. So there's a lot of policies that are sometimes out of your hands as well.
So mentors can help them step back and ask what truly needs to adapt and what should remain consistent between over standardization and localization.
I mean, when you're building your product, your messaging should stay the same, right? You should not pivot from it. So whatever your mission you're standing for, whatever let's say service and and probably the product life cycle should stay the same. You could differentiate in different messaging and your marketing campaign and a digital branding campaign, and also different sales cycle campaigns, different markets, that can be completely differentiated. But the core of the product, the way it behaves, because if somebody's going to say, you know what, you offer this service in, let's say, in Italy, but why not in India, right? That's a bit disappointing. Why can't I have that feature? I got used to that feature. You became a global brand name that I got used to using these type of products. I want to see the same thing wherever I go. Think about McDonald's. You know that whenever you enter a McDonald's place, you're going to have a cheeseburger. It's going to be the same exact cheeseburger wherever I go globally. So it's that type of trust, right? It's that type of basic product knowledge that that you're going to get. So don't limit that in different markets if you can, right? You could always release when you're able and you've grown enough, but at least the core of it should stay the same.
So brand uniformity is something that you suggest is important throughout.
Of course, because again, that's the trust that you're going to give, right? If I was to look at, another example like Spotify, their ad tech technologies currently only monetize creators in the US, but not globally. So one, they're missing out on so many creators that then pivot to local partners and they don't end up hosting with them. So you become kind of like, oh, we're still waiting for us, but people don't want to wait anymore. No matter how big you are, people really want a product that just works throughout for everybody. So that's just something that people really need to kind of consider. Get your product to work globally everywhere with the same features.
So, Lama, emerging markets often don't come with clear playbooks, as we all know, and things, shift quickly. Regulations, customer behavior, infrastructure. So how can a mentor help founders make decisions when there's no clear path forward?
So the mentor can guide them in, I wouldn't say that there aren't any playbooks. I think different markets do have playbooks. And, there's certain, let's say, aggregators that you can go to that can expand your work. So let's take the Middle East as a concept. So in the Middle East, there is, I'll take the last company I was working for that I guided their growth for. And so they have a listening app. So a podcasting listening app. This podcasting listening app, you're trying to cater for the entire Middle East. And you want people to tap into premium subscriber content. And how do you tap into a market that has different payment expectations and pricing points, but also they're a bit maybe not so active about like wanting to pay and use their credit card, and they have banking regulations. So there's an aggregator called Monja Group that ends up, if you were to take any telephone, let's say, provider, and you end up paying the bill, through that bill, you end up adding Netflix or Ascend, you add basically Spotify Premium, these kind of subscriptions that are just bundled on into your payment as a telephone provider. So a lot of, let's say, companies are trying to tap into that. And so when you become part of that bundle, you end up getting scale. But you need to be very wary that your pricing point can't be that high. It has to be very minimal so that the margins make sense. So there are, let's say, players that go and take your product and put them in on telecom providers so that you can tap into a mass audience. So it really depends. Your product is mass. Is it more niche? Is it at a higher pricing point? So the mentor can really guide them in highlighting these are the partners you can work with, making sure that you funded enough so that you can be ready for that scale and that growth. So it just depends where they are, right? It depends what product they're trying to build.
But something else we often see is strong product, that still struggle with adoption in the emerging markets. So why do many startups face this challenge in emerging markets, even when the product itself is good?
Not localizing with a local team. You cannot come from outside and expect to understand a market. You need to hire locally. You have to hire locally, trust the local talent, let them explain how users buy in. And if there is a local competitors, I always say, hire hire from competitors, right, that are operating locally, or just buy the company themselves. So a lot of acquisitions happen. So you have the Uber and Careem model. Careem, it became now a super app, but it was a car hailing application that Uber came and bought. Same thing with Noon, which is also similar as Amazon. Amazon came in and purchased Noon. So you see what's happening, you localize it, and maybe at one point you exit, and that's kind of like the sweet spot. This is what you want. You want to be exiting, 10x, 100x, and you're doing great for the founder and also for the investors that have joined.
So I think aligning with the local team is very important for success in that particular region. Let's talk about partnership and ecosystems. In many emerging markets, growth doesn't happen in isolation, as you rightly mentioned. So what role do partnership play, and how can mentors help founders navigate them effectively?
Look, I believe in whatever mentor you're bringing on board, you need to make sure where they shine. So if this is a market you're interested in, knowing that this mentor has access to it. There's a big question mark, right? There's I'm a mentor, I'm guiding you, right? And then there is I'm coming in as an advisor, as your company, and I'm taking equity, and I'm more than gladly to give you partnership exposure, right? But also you don't want to, it's a double-edged sword, right? You don't also want to be burning the opportunities for the mentor where they are also monetizing from this exposure. So you want to expose them and help out as much as you can, but also mentors have built years of experience to gain those partners, right? And have leverage in the market. So you need to also, as a founder, be very wary, like, okay, I want to take advantage of this person's, let's say, expert network. How can I do that? Bring them in as an advisor, right? Have them, pay them maybe equity, part of their startup. And then you'll see the actual advisor / mentor, right? Truly taking you 10x fold. But don't expect door opens just from mentorship. It's people, you want to think like everybody's like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not fair also for the mentor, So that's just something that people just think, yeah, no, I mean, he's the mentor, he should open me up all doors. You have to be fair, you know what I mean? So this is just
Because
something
there's
that
a mindset shift that you see, where they're from, just from being an advisor to more like an ownership.
Look, correct. I mean, I have I have seats, I have, I get equity, and I am an advisor for different startups. And for my time, maybe prior at a younger age, as a younger mentor, I would help a lot. I opened so many doors. I got, companies funded, and I took nothing. And for me, I was like, I want to see people grow and everything. But when I look back now and I say, you know what? No, I probably should have taken my cut, right? Why did I not? And a lot of it, I thought, I just love to give back. I love to this, but at the end of the day, mentors need to get, pay up as well, right? I think this is more of a fair agreement, even from a mentor, that mentoring, listening in, even as you're starting off, take that cut, right? Take the introducer fee, and so, yeah.
So from a mindset perspective, what shifts do founders need to make when operating in emerging market compared to more stable environments?
In terms of mindset, I think be open to understanding how different audiences are different. And I think just know that it might change. Your product might look this different. Localizing in the local language is also very important, and just bringing experts from that region. It's you have to be open to that. One person cannot be solving everything. So that's just knowing that your product might change, and just be agile with your communication and with your services as well.
And for finally, for founders entering emerging market today, what's the one principle they should never compromise on?
Yeah, I'd go back to it. It's your product. So it's your product features. Do not compromise that, and also hire locally. So hire locally. Do not try to, buy in some agents that would actually do it, If you do not have the funds, raise the funds. Go back into fundraiser mode and get the right team so that you can shine. Because at the end of the day, when you hire locally and you hire local experts, you end up basically closing the sales cycle much shorter rather than going and learning how the customer is, who's the right person to talk to, and that just takes much longer to close. So just save time and hire experts that are already playing what you're trying to play.
So I think it's very important to have your fundamentals right and in place. And this has been really a very thoughtful conversation, Lama. Let's move into a quick fireside round, whatever comes to your mind.
Sure.
So one mistake mentors see founders make when entering emerging markets.
One mistake would be a pricing model. So thinking that one price could fit all.
One factor mentors emphasize to build trust fastest in new market.
Get your product right, and you will build right.
Localization or standardization. What do mentors usually advise and why?
Localize in the local dialect. Standardize your service offering, and why? Because people want to trust the product and they want to know that your product works when they use it globally, whether you're locally or regionally.
One signal mentors look for to know if a market is ready for a product.
If the purchasing power is ready for that product, and also you'd have to look at the legal standpoint. Can you operate in this market? And then probably a third thing is, how's the legislation when it comes to the banking? Can you get money out of it or out of the country or not? So strong banking infrastructure so that you can operate in.
One habit mentors help founders develop to handle uncertainty.
Uncertainty, just be agile and understand, have a long cash flow, always have your rain fund ready to be able to handle uncertainty well. So I think not spending too much and not getting overexcited on paying people too high and opening offices, just down low, stay economic, because the rainy day, you never know when it's.
One type of partnership mentors recommend to accelerate growth.
So, like I said, a partnership like Mondia Group would be ideal. So, if you could take your product and work with resellers, work with distributors that can handle your product, you do not need to do all of the sales cycles. If you can find partners that can sell on your behalf, definitely push that direction.
One thing mentors believe founders tend to overestimate in emerging markets.
I think you would definitely overestimate talent if you think your talent can be stretched very thin through different markets. So that's why I really believe in hiring local, and I've done that all the time. So do not expect someone from a certain culture to understand the behavior of another culture. It is rocket science. It is rocket science. So yeah.
One word that defines how mentor approach scaling in this market.
The approach would be reassuring.
Thank you so much, Lama, for this wonderful conversation. Thank you, Lama, for bringing not just your experience, but your honesty into this space. One thing mentoring continues to remind me is scaling in an emerging market is not just about expansion. It's about understanding people, building trust, and thinking beyond short-term outcomes. And mentors don't give founders a roadmap for these markets, but they help founders develop the awareness and judgment needed to navigate them thoughtfully. And often, that's what makes the difference. If today's conversation gave you something to think about, take a moment with it. Change often starts quietly with a single insight. At IMC, we are committed to creating a better world through the power of mentoring. One conversation, one connection at a time. Until we meet again, take care of yourself and each other.